Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here to give you now the review for The Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 6. This episode is called Always Accountable, and this episode came out on November 15th, 2015. Now, because there was two storylines going on at once in this episode, and they were going back and forth, I'm going to kind of talk about one all at once and then the other one all at once. So, yeah, this episode, I already said the date that it came out. I thought this overall was a good episode, but let me just start off by talking about it. So basically, uh, this episode focused on everything going on with Abraham, Sasha, and Dale, which I thought, made sense since we haven't really seen too much of them in this season, and you kind of had to know what was going on with them. The biggest cliffhanger of the last episode was whether or not they survived everything in episode 3, so I thought that made sense. So basically what happens in this episode is they're still leading away the other half of the herd of walkers, and they get to like the 20 miles out that they were supposed to go, but then they all get shot at and ambushed, which I thought was a good part of the episode, and this kind of leads them to get separated. Dale gets falls out of his motorcycle, and this kind of leads him to get fall into the woods. Well, no, he doesn't fall into the woods. This leads him to getting separated from Abraham and Sasha, and he just rides his motorcycle off into the woods, and he's just exhausted and very weak because obviously he was just shot at like 300 times. And then Abraham and Sasha drive the car through a fence, and they were able to thwart the attack by shooting everybody. And then one of the people that was in a car, Abraham wanted to just go finish him off and stab him since they would have turned into a walker. But Sasha doesn't think it's worth it, which I agree with her on that. It really wasn't worth it. I just think Abraham kind of does what he wants to do. So Abraham was kind of like, why? We won. He's like, yeah, but there could be more of them. So they take off, and then it kind of cuts to the theme song, and then the episode that kind of goes from there. So like I said, because there's two storylines that kind of took place in this episode, I'm going to talk about them both separately, kind of in their own contents. So I'm going to start off with the Abraham and Sasha one first because it really wasn't as important. Basically what happens is Dale, since he rode his motorcycle off into the woods, they kind of went back to where he was, to where they got separated, and they want to wait for him. Abraham suggests they go out and look for him, but Sasha brought up a good point. Typically, when you're trying to find someone, it's best to let them find you, then you go find them. You should tell that to the people that play hide and seek, but whatever. Obviously, this is a different case, but whatever. And then, so they go into a building, and Abraham sees a zombie just walking off, and he wants to go kill it. But Sasha says that's really not worth it because it really wasn't. So she tells him that it's not worth it. You're just wasting your time. So when they close the door, we see that Dale's name, Dixon, was written on the door, which I thought was going to be a tie-in that he was there. Because the thing that's kind of tough to tell about The Walking Dead sometimes is sometimes they film this stuff where, for example, everything that happens happened before. So we had already seen stuff that took place with Dale. So I thought Dale had already been there once, but he really wasn't. So I thought that was kind of interesting because his last name is Dixon, but it's tough to explain what I'm trying to say. But basically what happened is because The Walking Dead kind of shoots everything. So for example, one episode could have happened like episodes ago and they just kind of film it then. I thought that's what happened. So that wasn't what happened though. So Abraham and Sasha look around to see if there's any intruders or zombies in the building. And there was one. He was like locked away in like his office. And Sasha gives Abraham a choice. He can either sleep or watch her sleep. And he said that he'll be the foreman. And when Sasha goes to go to sleep, one of the zombie before he had passed kind of wrote that hoping that the world was going to be a better place now that he's passed away, which I kind of thought was very symbolic. And Abraham and Sasha kind of argue with each other. Um, you know, Abraham's upset that they kind of were steered off the path, and Sasha says that this is his own fault because he chose to go with her. She could have just been by herself, and everything would be going fine right now. And she wonders why Abraham chose to go with her. And Abraham says, "Well, you really weren't in the best state of mind prior to that. At the party, you were talking about how you didn't really want to be alive anymore." And then Sasha pretty much says that Abraham's not really in the best state of mind because he always constantly kind of wants to go to live in the moment. He constantly puts himself in danger or attempts to by trying to kill a zombie when it's not necessary, going off it and leaving a car that's out on the road by killing zombies that go off the path. And he says that the world shouldn't be that way because we live in a place where you have to constantly take care of everybody and there's rules and regulations and you just kind of want to be off on your own, which was actually a good point. And Abraham says that he actually just wants to clear the vermin off the road and get rid of the toxic waste. So I kind of like the tension that they built up to there. And then Abraham later on goes to a bridge where he finds like a ton of army weaponry and cigars. And there was like a zombie hanging off like a fence off the edge of the building, and he had like a big bazooka gun strapped to his back. So Abraham went to go take it from him. But obviously, he felt like finally that it wasn't worth it because basically what would have happened is every time he went to go grab for it, the zombie would have bit him. So he didn't really think it was worth it. And then Abraham gets off the thing, smokes a cigar, and the fence finally just gives out because and the zombie falls, and then the gun's just left hanging on the thing. And then Abraham basically goes back and kind of confesses his interest to be in a relationship with Sasha. He kind of likes the fact that he calls him out on his bullshit, and that we could just stay here. We don't need to go back to the town and kind of wait for everything to settle down. We could live our lives here together. And Sasha doesn't really seem interested. He's like, "You're right, I'm good at calling out on your bullshit." So yeah, overall, I thought that was a pretty good part of the episode. It wasn't like the greatest story of the episode. It was just kind of filler. It felt mostly, but it was still fine. It wasn't unwatchable. There's been worse things that have happened in movies and stuff that are worth getting mad about. This really wasn't anything bad. I thought Abraham and Sasha kind of played very well off each other. What I thought was awkward though is I was thinking, isn't Abraham dating Rosita? But maybe that ended and I just forgot about it. But whatever. But I did kind of like how Abraham is somebody that they both kind of either want to die and put themselves in danger to die because obviously we knew Sasha had been in a bad state and wanted to die towards the end of season 5, and Abraham just constantly goes with the flow so much that he almost ends himself causing himself to get killed. So I thought that dynamic kind of played very well into this episode to bring those two characters together. Then I want to get to what I thought was the best part of the episode was the stuff that went on with Dale. Not saying that this stuff was bad, but this kind of was like the main focus of the episode. Basically what happens is Dale falls all exhausted. Like I mentioned before, this was before all the Sasha and Abraham episode happens. And when he gets to his feet, he's all exhausted. And I think he hears people around him, and he hides his motorcycle underneath like a tree that had fallen down, or a branch, I should say. so that way nobody knows that he's been there. And he finds all these zombies that have just been, burnt to a crisp. And then he meets up with these two people, Tina, and I didn't really catch the other two people's names. I don't even think they said them. So I think one of them's name was like Cam, and there was like this other woman. I have no idea what her name was because they never said it. But Tina was the person that had like short hair, and the other person was just there. So we'll just call him the new person. And Dale, then says, okay, you found, when Daryl catches up to them and say, okay, you found us. We took what we took and we had every right to take it. And then Daryl doesn't really murder them, and then when he turns around, Cam hits Daryl in the head with something. I didn't really see what it was because it happened very fast. And I thought these people were connected to the people that had the W's on their head. But then we found out that it really wasn't, that was not the case. So, then what happens is when Dale wakes up, we see that Cam was carving something, and then he puts Cam's, he didn't put his own, he put Dale's, crossbow into, his bag. And Dale wakes up all tied up, and the guy threatens to kill Dale if he says anything. So, at first, Dale doesn't, makes like a sly comment, and then the second time he doesn't say anything. They have him start, walking, and then we found out that these people, right around the time The Walking Dead started, had set this truck on fire, and how all the zombies go to it and it exploded, which kind of explains, why we've been seeing zombies that are like burnt to a crisp. And they were going to look for this girl, Patricia. And because Tina wanted to find her, and then they go into an industrial place, and we see that there's just a herd of zombies in there. So basically, they just assume that Patricia turned into a zombie, which is probably what happened. And as they're distracted, Dale takes the bag and he cuts himself loose from being untied and takes his crossbow back, kills a zombie on the way. And I thought this was kind of a good part of the episode because it really built up the intensity about whether or not these people were going to come find Dale. And I will say about Cam, Tina, and the other girl, that these people actually seemed rational. They seemed like they actually were normal people. Like obviously the wolf attackers. So that kind of made me think like maybe they're not a part of it. Maybe they were actually trying to save Dale because they knew the people with the W's on their forehead would have killed him. But that's not what happened. And then Dale comes over. He asks them to. He forces Cam to give up his gun, and which he does. And then he, forces him to give up any other weapon that they have. And they said that they claim that they don't have any. But then Dale says, remembers that Cam was covered something, so the reveals he was covered an angel. So then when Dale goes to leave, and then another group drives up. We found out that it was from Neil. And this is the group that they thought that Dale was aligned with. And Dale and Cam and Tina and the other girl realize that they're going to be screwed. Because we found out that they took something from this group. That's why they've been after these people. They've been after these people. So Dale helps them hide out, and Dale makes a noise in the woods, and one of the people goes over there to see what it is, and there was a zombie that was hanging over by a rock, and the guy gets bit, and they have to cut his arm off, and then take him back to go get to the infirmary and stuff. So this actually was very smart and resourceful by Dale to do so. And then we find out that these people, were people that originally started helping out people and building a sanctuary for them. And then when shit started to hit the fan, they just realized that they were only interested in surviving. And then Tina sees that there was this building that was burnt down, and we found out that Tina used to babysit for these people, and now that they were murdered, and Tina was upset and was trying to see if any of them were alive, and then she gets bit by a zombie, so they murder her because obviously she would have turned. And then Dale asks him they do the whole recruitment process about how they recruit people to Alexandria, how many people have he killed, how many walkers have he killed, and then why. Obviously, I completely messed up the questions, but it was basically the same questions, and they answered them, about the way they would want him to. So Dale reveals that they would take him back to Alexandria, and when Dale goes to get his motorcycle and take him back, Cam pulls out his gun, and then Dale realizes that he's screwed, and he forces him to give up his crossbow. He shoots at him, kind of like a threatening shot. So he does, and they apologize for doing this, but they said that they have to survive, and then Dale says that they're going to be sorry. And then they ride off in his motorcycle, and then Dale finds a truck that was from Patricia, which we found out was actually the person who owned the company. And finally, Dale, Sasha, and Abraham all get connected. They drive off in this truck, and Dale is trying to get in contact with Rick via walkie-talkie, and the only response he gets is somebody saying help to Dale. So then that was kind of how the episode ended. Overall, and I thought everything with Dale too gets an up as well. I thought that was a good part of the story, and obviously I don't think that part of the story is going to be over yet. I feel like there's going to be something that happens with that, because they cannot have Dale lose his crossbow. That's kind of what makes Dale. I mean, Dale is kind of like his own unique character, but not having his crossbow, that's kind of like his weapon. So I kind of hope that this is just a temporary thing. I know that seems like a small thing, but that's been his weapon since the beginning of The Walking Dead. So I kind of hope they don't have him completely lose it forever anyways. Overall, this episode I thought was a good episode. Kind of another filler episode, but it was still good. It still had some good elements in there. Like I said, I think typically what happens with The Walking Dead is usually the first 3 to 4 episodes are really good, but because each season's 16 episodes, they don't want to have everything be great, because they have to build to these stories, and this episode kind of was one of those filler episodes. I still think it was a good episode, but I think when it comes down to a show like The Walking Dead, it's going to have its up moments, it's going to have its down moments. I will say this, watching Season 6 so far, it is a hell of a lot better than Season 4 or Season 5. Not saying those were really bad. I mean, I don't really think Season 5 was all that good. Season 4 still had good moments, but it just felt like that they were just kind of buying and stalling for time in those seasons. Season 6, I think overall so far has actually been a pretty good season. The first 3 episodes I thought were really good, and then the Season 4 I think is actually a really good episode. And then obviously I think episode 5 and 6 have been kind of filler episodes. I kind of expect the next episode to be a filler episode, and then episode 8, which is going to be like the mid-season finale, I think it's going to be like a great episode, because they typically like to leave you with some sort of cliffhanger, since it's like the mid-season finale, and I think that's going to be exactly what happens. So that's it. I think basically that formula that Walking Dead follows, and I think it's an okay formula to follow. Obviously, I think too what happens is, like I said, this is how a TV show kind of should be formulated. You kind of want to leave. You don't want to give away too much at once. Like I said, I kind of like that they went to this story. Overall, I thought it was a good story too. Obviously, Dale I feel bad for Dale, because him and Rick got into a fight recently. Well, not really a fight, but kind of a disagreement about recruiting people, and this didn't really help Dale's case. So yeah, overall I thought this was a good episode. 7 out of 10. Nothing great, nothing bad, just good. So that's basically it, guys. Not only going to do any plugs, I plan on doing another one of these. So I want to see if I can try to at least finish up to the mid-season finale and then pick this up Thursday or Wednesday. I don't know why I say Thursday instead of Wednesday first, since Wednesday is the first day before Thursday, but whatever. Overall, leave your thoughts, what you thought in the episode down below, and that's basically it, guys. Talk to you later.